Hey there, you wonderful listeners. I have a question for you. Do you want to make a podcast? Well, Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily and then distribute it everywhere and even earn money all in one place and for free. How can you beat that? It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And here is how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, there are Q&A and poll options available, and those are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since I've discovered Spotify for Podcasters, it has made doing my shows like the Steam Machine Podcast, Yabs Pod, and the JRPG Report much, much easier to do. Like being able to just go on there, record them, upload it, boom, it's done. I don't have to pay for a site service to host or anything like that. It's fantastic. So I highly recommend that you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today. Hey everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me, as always, is my good buddy.
Hey, it's me, Willie. How you doing? Welcome back.
Willie, I had a moth land on my dick earlier.
Did you pay it?
No, I did swing at it, though, a couple times. So I was taking a piss in my bathroom, and there's been this moth that's been flying around my house. So apparently it ended up in my bathroom, and it landed on my dick while I was taking a piss.
I'm glad. I know you guys have been doing this will they, won't they for a while, and it finally landed.
It did cause me to jerk a little bit and then have to wipe the side of the toilet off and I've been so good for like aim. I've been like proud of my aim for years. And now it's been sullied. It's back down to 0. I got to start the count all over again. But,
you've had this little calendar you've been turning over every day since kindergarten. The last time we missed the bowl.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Oh man, but yeah, I was like, what the fuck? So I started after I was done peeing. The moth was flying around the bathroom, so I threw some fists, see if I could punch it. And I tell you what, that's a sneaky motherfucker because he evaded every fucking one of them and then landed way up out of my reach. So.
Oh, man.
I was like, all right, you win now, Mothra. Godzilla will be back.
I mean, that's the thing. Godzilla and Mothra always throw hands, but Mothra's always back. So, I mean, you got to take a different tack before he lands on your mothballs.
Yeah, I don't need to have mothballs. Oh man,
this is a good opening.
Oh, dude, we haven't done an episode since the shit went down at my house. Oh, okay. I have to tell you listeners about that. I have some funny Lenny stories, but I have to tell you guys what happened this week. So it was almost a week ago now. I'm out back enjoying a silly cig or two, and me and my mom are sitting there. We're having a conversation, and I start hearing shouting. And I was like, hold on, be quiet. I was like, be quiet. Listen. And I'm hearing this yelling, and I'm like, what in the fuck is that? So I go walking to the fence, and so we have this house across the street to the left a little bit. It is like, it's a rental place. It used to be a guy's house. He got old and moved out, so now it's a rental place.
So these people just moved in a couple of months ago, and the other day the cops were there over some sort of dispute. Well, I get to the fence and I start being able to actually hear what this guy's yelling. And he's yelling like, fuck you! Fuck you! Let me in! Lock me out of the goddamn house! I pay for this motherfucker! Fuck you! And I'm like, oh shit. And my brain's going, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. So I walk out front and go stand by our vehicles, and I'm kind of just standing in the shadows. The lights are off, so I'm in the dark. And I'm watching him. My dad's standing kind of behind me. And this dude just starts getting madder and madder and yelling like, fuck you, you stupid bitch, all this type of stuff. And my dad goes, Dalton, I think we should go inside. And I was like, why? Because what if he sees you? I was like, Dad, there's a baseball bat behind the front door. If he sees me and starts coming over here, I hope you would go grab that and bring it to me. like that's how that would go. And he's like, no, come on, let's go inside. So I was like, okay, I got to appease the old man. So I went inside with him, and I immediately walked out back and went and stood by the fence again. And so he, after like, I'm standing there for like 5 solid minutes listening to this dude shout and yell. And I can hear vaguely a voice yelling back at him from inside the house, right? Which I thought was another guy. Turns out the lady that lives over there just has a very deep voice. Right, so there's a lot of yelling going on. So my dad comes back out there and he's standing next to me, and we're just kind of sitting there listening. All of this, fuck you, I own this, I pay for this bitch, good luck at Keystone, bitch. Oh, fuck you, all this stuff. We're like, Jesus Christ. I looked at my dad and I said, you think we should call the cops? Now, I'm high. My dad is an old stoner. He doesn't smoke anymore, but like, we're both like, what's the address over there? I don't remember. My dad goes, they're going to want to question us if we call the cops and you're high. We probably shouldn't do that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. I agree, because Florida's weird. So about this same time, we hear, you're not going to let me in? Fine then. Smash. A fucking window breaks somewhere over there. And me and my dad go, sheesh. Oh, fuck. And we hear the door fly open and we start hearing this. You motherfucker, you broke my fucking window. Where'd you break the window at? While this voice is going on, the other voice is just going, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. and so the door shuts again. We hear the door shut and he starts yelling and we hear, I want my fucking weed. And I looked at my dad and I went, dude, that guy is probably on some harder drugs and needs his weed to chill the fuck out, because like he is raging right now. And anyway, he ended up getting in a car and peeling out and hauling ass down our road. Now I live on a little dirt road, dude. Like, and there's a bunch of cats around and stuff. So like, I was immediately pissed off that he did this, but he like peeled out and stormed off down the road. So we think it's over. We're standing there talking about, I can't believe that just happened. When we hear his voice shouting again, he's walking down the road, comes back to the house, gets another car, pulls that one out of that driveway, and peels out and hauls ass in that one too. So I'm like, what do you do with the first car? What the fuck happened to the first car? and that was it. Like, and now both cars are back over there. I guess they're all happy-go-lucky and back together or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, dude, some people are fucking dumb.
Everything's normal now. Definitely cool.
Like, what, did he come home and fix the window? What the fuck? But yeah, that was an interesting night for me. It had my adrenaline going because I was like, am I gonna have to go over there and like save somebody from getting killed? What the fuck's going on here?
Jeez, yeah, God.
But a little bit of a lighter story before we get into some gameplay talk.
That would be nice.
So I've talked about my buddy Lenny before. Leo, he's from Yonkers, New York, right? He's got that real thick New York accent. So I've talked about Lenny. Like, I love Lenny to death. And if he ever listens to this, Lenny, I want you to know I love you to fucking death before I even tell these stories. Because it's probably going to sound like I'm making fun of you, but I'm not. Because I fucking love everything about you, dude. You're a good dude. So Lenny's not the best cook. And what I mean by that is he doesn't cook. So we're over at my buddy Wes's house. And Wes is like, I'm going to grill some salmon tonight for dinner. And Lenny goes, I don't really fuck with fish. Wes is like, yeah, but salmon's different, man. Yeah, I don't really fuck with fish. Like, but have you ever had salmon? Nah. Well, what kind of fish have you had? Well, like fish sticks. Wes goes, what? He goes, yeah. You know, when I was younger, I ate some fish sticks and I didn't really like them, so I just haven't eaten fish. And Wes goes, okay, for one, it's probably not fish. He goes, and two, how did you cook them? Yeah, I just put them in the microwave. And Wes is like, oh my God, bro. So Wes grills this salmon and he goes, Lenny, fucking taste this. Lenny takes a bite of it and he goes, yo, dog, that's fucking good. Wes is like, yeah, welcome to fish cooked properly. So
Nice.
we're inside and we're talking. So Wes, like, Lenny's really relying on his mom. There's a weird like mommy dearest thing there. It's very strange, right? But Wes is like trying to prepare Lenny for like the day that maybe his mom's not around anymore. So he'll be like, what do you know how to cook? And Lenny is like, oh, you know, like I can make like French fries and like, chicken wings and stuff like that. Like I love making chicken wings. Wes goes, oh, hell yeah, dude. So how do you do it? Like, what do you use for your batter, your seasoning and stuff? And Lenny goes, yeah, I just pull them out of the bag, put them on a plate. And Wes goes, oh, okay. So you like do your wings in the oven, then just like the wings you get from the store. And Lenny's like, yeah, but I don't use the oven. I just put them in the microwave. And Wes is like, oh my God, bro, they're probably so badoingy. That's what my dad calls chicken nuggets, and they're like cheap chicken nuggets. He calls them badoing chicken because he's like, you throw them, they'll bounce.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Lenny's just like, nah, I just
If you're lucky,
I just use the microwave.
If you're lucky to bounce.
Yeah.
You get that Quid Cuisine stuff, it don't even bounce.
Yeah, those just stick to whatever you throw them. Like putty. Speaking of putty, high five.
Nice. Nice.
But yeah, so Lenny is the microwave king. I love that motherfucker to death. But like, dude, just the look on his face when he was just like, just fish sticks. I microwave them. I'm like, oh God, bro, no. That's one of the worst things that I can think of to eat is microwave fish sticks. And but you throw them in the oven or you fry them, and they're fucking delicious. Oh man, I don't know. That's just. I miss Lenny. I haven't seen him in a while. I miss that dude.
You just got to get him to eat food that people that love themselves eat.
Yeah. He can pound some food now. I know I've told stories like I've cooked him a cheeseburger that was at least a quarter pounder, and in the 5 feet from the kitchen to the table, he ate the entire thing. Like he sat down at a table and finished his burger. I was fucking amazed. I was like, bro, how big is your mouth? Do you have pockets in there that you can store these food? Like, that's insane, bro. I told him all the time, I'm like, you should look into competitive eating. I mean, it'd probably be terrible for you, but you might be able to make some money. Because he's quick. Like, the hot dog eating contest, bro, I think he could put away some wieners. All right, brother. Trails. Now, let's clarify how this is going to go. I beat the game. Willie, I know you've been busy with life and stuff, so you were not able to fully complete it. But this,
so I reached. I played for a total of 23 hours and hit the middle of about chapter 3 out of 4, which including a prologue episode means I'm a little more than halfway through.
Yeah. So today's episode, we're going to cover everything that you've seen and kind of like overalls and things like that.
Trying to avoid specific spoilers.
Yeah, and then this Saturday, I'm going to be recording an episode with James from the JRPG Report. Shout out to James from the JRPG Report. You're the man. Everybody should listen to it.
Thank you, James.
Everybody should listen to the JRPG Report because that's a great show for all your JRPG news. That's where I get all my JRPG news. He's a good guy. We're going to be recording the spoiler cast this weekend. So if you have beat this game and you want to hear like my opinions and my reaction to the ending of this, you'll get that this weekend. And there was one other thing I was going to touch on, and now I don't remember what it was. Well, that's why they call it dope. So where we left off was the end of the prologue, I believe. So like from there, from what you've played, did you feel that this game was doing a good job at evolving, like character progression, levels of monsters, things like that? We can kind of kind of give you your overview, and then we'll kind of run through what we got written down. Yeah,
for sure. I didn't make a lot of notes about chapter 1 actually, but I did feel like the prologue in the first chapter kind of, I mean, I was going to say small stakes, but the first chapter is literally about like a hijacked airline and a whole bunch of important stuff from that. So it's not like it's low stakes from the start, but I feel like it did a good job of expanding in scope and depth throughout the course of the game, and same with the gameplay too. Like, I think early on you can really just fudge everything with just hit enemy, and then later on you need to do a little bit better job managing like elemental things, and then much like I'll talk about the combat more when we get to the second chapter. But there was I feel like it definitely evolved where you had to be more strategic, use your resources more intelligently, use your items and things in addition to just whacking things.
Yeah, the turn order became really important. Like, you really wanted to go early as possible and try to get in more attacks and stuff, because this is a game where it's like you got your characters hit hard, but the enemies also hit fucking hard. Everybody hits hard.
And manipulating that turn order was really huge too, because like there's the order of turns is like 1 turn from now this character is due to go next, 2 turns from now this character is due to go next, 3 turns from now this character is due to go next. In 3 turns, this attack will have critical hit.
Yep.
And like you could cast a spell like a healing spell that only takes a moment to cast, which will insert your character in those order twice, and then that'll kind of skip the critical hit up 1. And so I did that a few times to manipulate enemies away from having critical hits or certain heals and stuff, which became a lot more important later on.
Yeah, you absolutely want to keep on top of that, because you want to avoid the enemies having critical hits at all costs. At all costs. Especially those later on, those Roadrunner type guys that we talked about. Like, they kicked fucking hard.
Yeah, it's just a random encounter enemy that would just like eviscerate you if you had to fight them like with 2 of them, and they would team up on the same guy and get critical hits on their, what's it called, demonic talon attack. It was just brutal.
Now, before we get any more in depth, you have a note here that I think is interesting about the series numbering. So do you want to get into that?
Okay, so there are a lot of games in the series, but the series has sub-series of sub-series. Yeah. So I did some more research. Later on, we're going to be covering a game called Legend of Heroes: Trails of Cold Steel, which is it'll be coming a little later. It's the 6th game in the Trails series. Like, this is the first one, Trails in the Sky. That game has its own sequels: Trails of Cold Steel 2, 3, 4, and a new one that I've already forgot the title of.
Trails of Reverie.
Thank you, Trails into Reverie. That's right. The game we're playing today, Trails in the Sky, is the first Trails game, but it's called, Legend of Heroes: Trails in the Sky. It's the 6th game in the Legend of Heroes series, which began with a game called Dragon Slayer: The Legend of Heroes. That game is the 6th game in the Dragon Slayer series, which was a long-running early-on series that, like, if you've ever heard of Faxanadu, that's a spin-off of the same series. So, like, this game, when we get to Trails of Cold Steel, that is going to be either, depending on how you want to count, the 1st game, 6th game, 11th game, or 16th game in the series.
Two fun facts. One, I think Reverie is a new arc start. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But I think Trails of Cold Steel is 1 through 4, and now they're starting another arc.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I could be wrong. I will clarify that with James, because he would know, because he's a big fan of the series. And 2...
Absolutely. And he'll probably correct me what I just said, because some of it's probably slightly off, but...
Dragon Slayer, the original Dragon Slayer, is known for being like a pioneer of the action RPG like genre, where it was more focused on like battles and stuff and story, as opposed to dungeon crawls and hunting for this and the first person, like that kind of thing that was really popular back then. And it kind of took a left turn from what Ultima was doing too, whereas like Ultima was getting more super realistic, whereas Dragon Slayer took the JRPG style route. I don't know. So,
okay,
yeah. Interesting fact I learned the other day.
That's pretty.
But yeah,
cool.
It's insane to me that Trails of Cold Steel could be one of 4 different numbers of the series, depending on how you look at it.
It's also that it keeps happening at the 6th game every time. I think is kind of funny. Like, Legend of Heroes was the 6th Dragon Slayer. Trails of the Sky was the 6th Legend of Heroes. Trails of Cold Steel was the 6th Trails. Like, I don't know. It's just
666.
666. A little nice.
I threw up the horns for people. Well, obviously nobody can see this. We don't do video versions, so
I saw it.
Yeah.
Man, aside from that, like after that point, my notes in the game notes start getting a little bit disorganized, and then they come back a little bit later. But you have some random topics? You mind just jumping into random stuff I wanted to mention?
As a whole, like, I think that the relationship between Estelle and Joshua is done really well throughout the entire game. They kind of like hinted around things and stuff like that, but it's also like they have this brother and sister thing going on, which that some people might find that weird, but like
I didn't. Yeah, I was kind of thinking, please don't, get too. I haven't finished the story yet either, so I don't know how it ends up. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that element.
So I don't look at it that way because like they're not blood related at all. You know what I'm saying? Like they were raised together.
Even
don't get me wrong.
Even the adoption thing is kind of informal too, because it's like he picked up that kid 5 years ago, so he was like they were 11 at the time, and now they're 16. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's still. I don't love it, but I guess I could see where people are coming from.
But like not even just their relationship, like the relationships that they build with the characters that you meet over the game, like Shirazard, God, I can Chloe, Tita, like all these different characters that you meet, they mean something. You know what I mean? Like sometimes some games they have like the side party members are kind of just there, but they don't really mean much. Yeah.
Even non-party characters, like I feel like you keep running into the reporter Neil and his photographer Dorothy, and I think over time you really start to feel like they're very, I don't know, you get to know them and kind of understand their angles too, and I don't know, I like that.
It's interesting. I read his name as Niall.
I think I've said it both ways.
Neil and Niall, yeah,
I think I said Niall in the past episode.
But yeah, I really liked him as a character. The reporter guy,
he grew on me a lot.
He's a cool fucking character, and then Dorothy is just obliviously hilarious.
Yeah, Estelle was a little bit out there, but Dorothy is an absolute space case.
Yeah, which is funny how much she grinds Estelle's gears. It's just hilarious that she's just so oblivious that Estelle cannot believe it.
Yeah, she's like the person in the world that seems to annoy Estelle more than like the outright mean people, because she's just like, oh, will you please pay attention? Which is like kind of what everyone else is doing to Estelle half the time. I
think the only person that gives Dorothy a run from her money in that vein is Olivier. Because
she definitely didn't like Olivier.
Olivier, dude, and it doesn't get any better. Like, no. he is just such. I love him. He is one of my favorite characters. He's hilarious.
Because the thing about Olivier is he's like this like really self-absorbed weirdo that keeps overstepping people's bounds and making everyone uncomfortable, and then the game keeps finding reasons to mash him back into the party and just irritate the shit out of everyone, and I personally love it because it's like he's not completely useless. He does some things that he ends up being really helpful at one point. Like it's his suggestion that ends up really helping break the Sky Bandit case in one point. But like, also gameplay wise, he's pretty awesome. I love his S break because he's the first character you get who has an S break that targets more than one enemy.
Yeah, and that's really helpful.
Yeah,
really,
especially because if you're fighting Sky Bandits, they tend to come in numbers, and being able to knock half of all of their health off at once is like pretty sick.
Yeah, absolutely. And he, what cracks me up, there's a scene, I don't know if you've gotten to it yet or not, and it's not much of a spoiler, but like Josh and Estelle and some other character are having a conversation in this building, and they're like, but who could we find for a fourth, you know what I mean? And this voice from outside the door, just says man's voice, goes, like, I do believe that I could be of service here. And Estelle's face just drops to that like anime like oh no face, and she's like, oh God, don't tell me. And then Olivia comes walking in, and he's like, hello. And Joshua goes, how long have you been listening to us? And Estelle's like, yeah, did you just wait for the perfect time to make your entrance? And he's like, a bard always makes the perfect entrance and shit. like he is the fucking best. He is the man. He is so fucking funny.
I also love that, like, I feel like he gets a pretty fair, he kind of gets and gives in equal measure. You know what I mean? Like, he irritates everybody. They get back at him. There's no long-term lack of equality there.
Yeah, there's a scene, and again, this isn't a spoiler, it's just something that was funny that happened. There's a scene where he finally says something to Estelle that like makes her eye twitch, and then all of a sudden her character whips her staff out and just BAM! Nails Olivier, and he goes flying back into the building they just come walking out of. And then you can walk back in there, and he's laying on the ground with like the anime like starry eye type thing, and people are around him like, what the hell happened? It sounded like he got hit by a truck or, you know, like a horse or something, kicked by a horse. and he's laying on the ground like, "Mama, help me, Mama." That's not what he says, but it's one of those things. He's completely out of it. It is just a really funny fucking scene.
Oh man, I don't know. I enjoyed the heck out of him. There's a lot of, I guess, I don't know if minor characters is the term, but like medium-sized, not quite main characters that I really found myself enjoying. I'll get to some more of those later, but I also like the little things like the extermination missions. Some of the boss or mini bosses you end up fighting, like optional boss fights, ended up being really cool. Like there was an early one on called Master Cryon that was just like this kind of figure inside of a jagged crystal with a bunch of like colored orbs around him, and it looked like a Super Nintendo boss fight, but it was in Chapter 1 in an optional sub fight in the game, and I don't know why, but I really enjoyed that.
Oh, dude, the enemy sprites in this game are tremendous.
And just imaginative, like, even little things like there's an enemy called a cave ray. It's just like a ray fish, but he's underground instead. He kind of floats around. And it's like, I don't know why, but that just kind of makes me happy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. Like, and I like there was a certain chest that I opened in one of the areas that spawned a monster fight. 'Cause some chests are monster chests. They have the best items in them, but you got to beat monsters to get to them. And usually it's like equipment of some sort. But, it popped open and I had to fight 7 penguins, and each of them was a different color. And I know that correlated to something I don't know, because I had an S break and I just used that and wiped them all out. Because Josh eventually gets an S break that's hits everything. So like I just used that and took them out. But I really enjoy that, like, there's a reason that each of those penguins are a different color. You know what I mean? And they're colored nicely. It's not just like, I don't know how to describe it. It just looks like there was care put into the detail on them, if that makes sense. And for sprite work, dude, that's impressive to me. Like, it's not like you're putting together polygons and you can really shape them. It's like sprites, you're only working with what you got, basically. And as far as I know, I could be completely fucking wrong because I don't fuck with sprites, but it was all impressive to me. And some of the final boss, without giving too much away about it, looks really fucking cool, and it was done really well.
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to that because, like I said, I got to about the halfway point. I'm gonna keep on playing this game, but like I'm tremendously busy this month in general, so I may or may not have time to get to it before you guys do the spoiler ep. So it might be a while before I get to even hear that. I will try to report back when I finish the game, but I know there's a couple games I said I was going to finish that I hadn't quite got around to.
If anything, at least message me when you finally finish this game, because I really want to know how you feel about the ending.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know as I progress in general, because, like, I mean, I'll probably play in little chunks from now on, and, you know, try to get to the end of I don't think I'm too far from the end of Chapter 3. Like, I think I have a major dungeon coming up in a moment.
Bro, you've probably got, let's see, you said, how many hours did you say you were in? About 23?
23 and a half.
23 and a half. You've probably got, like, 10 to 12 hours left, if that. So, like, you're not very far. Okay. You could chip away at that, you know, here and there.
Yeah, it's just I'm definitely going to want to play next week's game first.
Oh, yeah.
That, so I don't feel behind.
No rush, but yeah, feel free to just anytime, just kind of chip away at it when you have free time, you know what I mean? So you put it the best when you said that this game plays out a lot like an anime, and I agree with that, because it's like, it's so happy-go-lucky in the beginning, and then you get to Chapter 2, and Chapter 2 is really where stuff starts to kind of pick up. They start introducing a little more political intrigue, a little more stakes. The stakes are a little higher. So I'm curious how you felt about Chapter 2.
So I mean, I want to say that first off, Chapter 1 ended with a Sky Bandit castle or fortress or whatever. I think that may have been the best designed dungeon I've seen in the game so far. Like, it really pushed me to the limit of my resources and my ability in the game. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it through. It felt like a battle of attrition that we were kind of behind in because we were so outmanned. And I really, really enjoyed that. So, like, I just wanted to thumb that up really well. Like, I bought a bunch of different food items going into that. I used up all of them in that time frame. So, like, that felt really cool. But Chapter 2, I guess is what I really want to go on. Because I think that's when the game's plot came into its own. Like, Chapter 1 in the prologue, everything had kind of been this linear pursuit of missions. Like, there are optional side missions you can take for the Bracer, so it fleshes out some of the areas you're in and lets you explore, feel around the areas. But for the most part, you're following a single breadcrumb trail with occasional hints that there's something bigger going on. Like, you don't really follow up on them. You just hear like ominous things and implications, but you don't have any ability to follow up on them right away. Then in chapter 2, though, okay, like the chapter 3 plot has a lot of different threads. Like it takes place all over the place. There's like, you know, you're investigating in mansions and orphanages, academies and warehouses, and it covers all these different themes. Like it's about found family and nobility versus equality, of divided loyalties, and like a city whose identity is in crisis because technology is reshaping the world. And like throughout the story is like political intrigue, a school festival, gang warfare, gentrification, petty larceny, large-scale robbery, arson, and mercenaries, and like evildoers because they're incompetent, evildoers because they're malicious. Like it's got all these different things that it works with and like tries to bring together. And before it all wraps up and lets you know like how these things do connect and how they don't connect to one another, it does this thing that I've always loved in stories, a play within a play. There's a little play put on by the academy that your characters end up being a part of, and the play within a play reprises like all of these themes before you actually find out, you know, the conclusion of the in-game story. I don't know. I just thought that was really well done, and it really showed me that the game was going for quite a lot. And
Joshua made quite the pretty princess.
That he did. Yeah, there was a gimmick in the play where the students that put it on decided to do the characters in the opposite gender roles of the characters. So major female characters end up playing the knights fighting over a princess played by your boy Joshua, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of sweet and adorable.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
That play kind of hit. The play kind of hit me. I was like, even though it was like a really obvious story, it was still like kind of emotional because it's like obviously a exaggeration and simplification of everything that's going on, but I think it told a pretty cool, if simple, story in its own right. The play. I'm a sucker for that. Absolute sucker for play within a play.
I mean, it did Romeo and Juliet better than Romeo Must Die, so we'll give them that. It was really it was really cool.
It was pretty like Shakespeare. It was a little like Romeo and Juliet meets maybe a taste of Macbeth or Hamlet, but not too much.
Yeah, it was very well done for sure.
Yeah, which is the Shakespeare play that has a play within a play. Cause it's been a while. Someone is listening and they're yelling the name at it like it's Jeopardy, but I'm never going to hear you. Sorry. Yeah, man. I don't know. I think that's the main thing I noted is like chapter 2 really seemed to be where the game decided to stop just being introduction to game and start being like, okay, we're going to show you what the world at large looks like through a microcosm of the world. I thought that was cool. And it also made me wonder, like, a lot of implications, because, like, some of these characters are connected to other groups, like the royal family and the military, and, you know, then there's, it's like, local things, but I don't know. I haven't finished the plot, and it really made me wonder, like, who knows what outside of this?
Yeah, for sure. If you don't want a slight spoiler for chapter 2, skip ahead 10, 15 seconds. Okay. Dude, when they make you think that fucking orphanage burned down with that lady and the kids inside, I was like, oh my God.
That was heart-wrenching, and I was so glad that's not how it turned out.
Yeah, I was super happy when it was
They cut away from that way too early.
When it was like, Agate went and saved him, I was like, oh, thank God, dude, because I don't know how I could have emotionally handled that.
That would have been just too much too fast.
Yeah, it's like this happy-go-lucky game, and then they just crush your whole soul and spirit. I mean, this ain't Doki Doki Literature Club. This. Oh, dude. So what? I found a mod for this game. I want to touch on this really quick.
Yes.
So in Japan, this was only released in Japan. Trails in the Sky, SC and FC. I'm not sure about the third, but I think the third too. Anyway, the Trails like arc was first released on PC, then PSP, then PC again. Right over here, like we've talked about that on the last episode. It also got a re-release on the Vita, and they were called Evolution. It was Trails in the Sky first chapter, Evolution first chapter. I know they used first chapter twice. I don't know why, but that's just what it was. But it added voice acting and stuff, and there's wonderful modders have made things that will take the voice files from the Vita version and put them into the PC version. Now I got that to work.
Nice.
But last night I'm watching a clip on YouTube, just trying to refresh myself on some of the earlier things that had happened in the game, because it's been a couple weeks since I had seen them. And this is all tying back to what we were just talking about, I promise. So it's the scene where, and we're going to get to chapter 3, but in chapter 3 where Tita and, I almost said Louise. What the fuck? Who is Louise? Estelle and Tita were in the steam room and they were talking. And there's a part where it's just a bunch of dots for Tita's, like, her line, right? But the voice actor goes, Doki Doki. And I'm like, what? Does Doki Doki just kind of mean, like, are you thinking, like, what does that mean?
It means heartbeat. It's like a sound effect that means like a heartbeat. Oh,
okay. Okay. So maybe she was, like, thinking to herself, and it was a serious conversation what they were having. Well, Tita thought it was serious, or Estelle thought it was more serious than Tita did. I mean, but right. Yeah, but
I know this.
It just cracked me up. But she just went, Doki Doki. And I was just like, that's so cute, because the voice actor for Tita did a great job. For people who don't know what we're talking about, in chapter 3, there's a girl you meet named Tita, who's like a little girl, and you kind of take her under your wing as like your little sister, and run around and do stuff with her. And she's a little badass.
She's very nice.
She's super cute, like little badass, and her S break.
Okay, so yeah, she does end up joining the party for combat, and she's usually a little demure and fights things from a distance with a cannon, like a little, tiny cannon thing. But then
So, for one, her cannon, she has a craft that is like a smoke screen thing that blinds your enemies.
Yes. That was the most useful move I think I've seen in the entire game, because it's an area of attack damage and smokescreen or blind against all.
Yeah, it's fucking helpful against big groups for sure. But her S break, this little girl pulls out a minigun.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you said the character from Team Fortress 2, I don't remember his name. The heavy.
Runs me the heavy.
Yeah, she just goes straight the heavy and pulls out this minigun and just unloads on the enemies, and it is hilarious because this gun is 3 times the size of her.
Yeah, it's kind of great. I don't know, I kind of love the S-break animations. Like, I think they did a great job of adding a little extra character to each character. Oh, yeah. That sounded really stupid, but what I mean.
I still love Shirzard's, ooh, someone's not being naughty, and then just whip. Well, but I like Barrage, too. With Estelle, where she goes in and takes her staff and just starts whacking the shit out of him, like, continuously. Yeah. It's fucking great, dude.
I don't think I've ran into one that I didn't think was pretty awesome. Like, I actually thought Olivier's one, like, we talked about the effect of it, but the animation was really cool, too, because he kind of gets behind it. Like, it shows the shot from a couple of different angles. And he says some really corny thing you would expect a character like that to say, like, something along the lines of, now face the power of true beauty.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous like that.
Chloe's was a mass heal.
Which
is helpful, but only in certain situations,
I've never enjoyed having like the limit break slot being taken up by a heal move if that's the only option you have, because the thing about the S break in this game is you can use it to interrupt stuff, and I think you're more likely to just want to interrupt an enemy to delete them than to heal and then have them hit you again,
Yeah, but it also could save your ass if, like, say there's a big monster that is about to just put off like its quote-unquote S-breaker, its big damage move, and if you're able to hit that red button before that thing goes off and heal your people so they don't die when that goes off, that can help. But also, like, if you're managing your health, hopefully you won't be down that far anyway.
I'm not saying it's not useful. I'm saying also, like you mentioned earlier, is the enemies hit very hard, you hit very hard. There aren't a lot of situations where I'm hanging around with, like, almost dead to damage without the enemy also being almost dead.
Yeah, for sure. But Chloe's move that I really liked was this attack where she uses her bird, Zeeg, and she just like sends him, and the bird attacks the person, but it lowers their strength and their defense, which is phenomenally helpful to exterminate some of those monsters there at the beginning.
Because it's literally defense and strength minus 50% from that move.
Yeah, for
which is a ridiculous
2 or 3 turns, I think, or something like that.
I never quite understood how long buffs and debuffs they seem to be a lot shorter in this game than in most RPGs.
Yeah, which is helpful. Like when you get poisoned, that it only lasts a couple turns, and as opposed to, until you get rid of it.
I will say that by far, out of pretty much any RPG I've played with status effects, this game has some of the least annoying poison I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's a JRPG trope. Rounding back to the Patreon, you people, if you want to hear the Patreon section, it's $1 a month. Patreon.com/Steam Machine Podcast. That's a trope that I hate. Is like poison not going away. Like I understand why. If they want to be more realistic, when you get poisoned, it's just not going to magically go away after the battle. But like when I'm taking a step and every step the screen flashes and makes a noise, it's like, come on, I don't need that. I know that person's poisoned. Like
you're just making it more anxiety-inducing and stressful, but you're not actually adding anything gameplay-wise, or maybe something small.
Like the reason I can't play the old Zeldas is because of that god-awful noise that plays when you have low hearts. I hate it, dude. I can't do it. It aggravates the shit out of me.
Yeah. Especially all the NES ones where it's like, if you hit with your sword, it makes that and the beep at the same time, and it's just really sonically unpleasant. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, so chapter 2 ends up culminating nicely. But another thing with this game is you're getting different party members in each chapter. Like,
yeah, which also means you start each chapter with just Estelle and Joshua.
Yeah, which is it can be rough.
You get used to having the 4-person parties because, the difference when you're fighting just trash mobs, it is so much easier to overwhelm them with numbers if you can just go one. Because a lot of things take 2 or 3 hits, so if you can just go 1, 2, 3 and take out at least one of the mobs, you're good. But if you accidentally encounter some random jerk on the overworld, you might actually have to fight it for a moment as Estelle and Joshua.
Yeah, and that doesn't always go well, as I can do attest. At least I've had to hit retry multiple times throughout this playthrough.
I haven't had so much had to retry, but it's like I just got. Well, okay. If I tried to bite off something more than I could chew, which was typically a treasure chest, and I only had the 2 of them, I think that's when most of my deaths came from.
I would always save before I tried to exterminate a monster, just in case I would lose. And there was a couple times I had to load and be like, all right, I'll come back to this later.
No, it was treasure chests and exterminations. I think were the only times. I think maybe one boss battle where I had saved and had to come back to it later. But for the most part, it was usually kind of obvious that you're lacking. Like there was one in chapter 3. It was at the start of chapter 2. There's an extermination side quest for a monster called helmet crabs. And what it is 5 of these monsters that all have a force field on them. And all physical attack damage bounces off of them back to you if you hit up with a physical attack. And that includes crafts. And that includes S-breaks. Yep. So you can't just cheese through it through S-breaks. You have to have arcs. But they're 5-on-2. And so they're just going to outnumber you really fast. Not only that, but they summon a separate kind of monster that has a magic point vampirism attack. So they're overwhelming you, keeping you from using your arts attacks on them, and you're done before you can get started. So I'll go ahead and say this in advance. Wait until you have at least 3 characters before you do that fight. You have time. You have time to wait till you pick up the 3rd character.
Yeah, and it makes a massive fucking difference.
Because that character starts with a bunch of area of effect art attacks, which is really useful. And it's about that point in the game that I realized the only things I need to upgrade isn't just you don't just be upgrading your attack, your weapons, your armor, and all that. That it's important to check the quartz you have in there, and not just leave in materia. Oh no, materia is the FF7 term, but if you have a quartz in there that's HP 1, maybe check the store and see if there's an HP 2, because that's the only way you're going to be getting your level 2 spells that are going to be more powerful. Yeah. And if you're still going, in chapter 1, you could in the beginning of the game, you can skate by just hitting things. Chapter 1, you can skate by using the right elemental attacks. By Chapter 2, you need to be managing all the things we talked about. You need to be not just using your S-break every time you have craft 100. You want to be sometimes using that for moves like Estelle's Hurricane, I thought, got more and more valuable throughout the course of the game.
So good.
That's a move where she stands in you put her in any position that's fairly near. She just kind of stands still and attacks in an area of a range 3 around her. And so in a lot of cases that ends up letting you take out these massive waves of monsters that would overwhelm you otherwise.
Yeah, and Estelle, dude, so she doesn't hit that hard in the beginning, but by the end of the game, that girl hits like a fucking tank.
Yeah, I would agree that. I thought especially because she looked like, compared to when you had Shara in the party in the beginning, Shara was your DPS one, and it looked like Josh was kind of your fast attacker, so I don't know. Early on, I feel like I had Estelle covering like healing and stuff for the most part, but now she's bashing, you know?
Yeah, and she's good at it.
Yeah.
But I finished this game at level 40.
Okay.
I don't know if everyone will get to level 40 because I spent a good amount of time just grinding, even when I was getting 3 experience per battle and shit. Because this game has like an anti-grinding policy where if you're not in a newer area with new monsters, like eventually you're gonna hit like a wall with grinding.
It's exponential. I figured out how the game does the calculation. So if there's a monster that is level 19 and gives you 19 experience points per fight, if you fight it at level 19, you get 19 experience points. If you fight it when you're level 2, you get 19 experience points. It's exponential. It is literally a power of like divide by 2 and round down every level above the level. So if you're level 20, you get 9. If you're level 21, you get 4. If you're 22, I guess you would get 2. And then any level from 23 on, you get 1 experience point for fighting that monster. If there's like 9 of them, you get 9 experience points for a fight that you're only slightly over level. You're like 4 levels too high for, but you're still outnumbered. Yeah. So like the game definitely rewards you going forward to do your grinding if you're going to grind at all. The moment you're over leveled for an area, the punishment is rapid. Which is also why it's cool when the game gives you a character that's way higher level than you, because the implication is that character's been either really far places or he's been just whacking these dudes since he was a child.
Yeah.
Like I loved when Agate first shows up. I made a note of it. You're like around level 15 at this point. He pops into the party at level 22, which is over double your total experience points. And that it fits his character type too, because he's the senior bracer who, not only is he senior, he thinks you're just a couple of jabroni rookies and he wants you out of his hair for the most part.
Yep.
Like he knows who your dad is. He doesn't really care. He just kind of wants, I mean, maybe that's not exactly the case, but that's the way he portrays himself. Like, he doesn't want you to be a liability.
And he's young. He's young, but you can tell that he's seen a lot of battle in his time already.
Yeah. Like, he's kind of implied to be one of the aces of the entire group. Like, he seems to have the same household name status that, like, Cassius and Shara have.
Yeah. You meet a guy... So, speaking of cool ice breaks, I won't give you his name or anything because you'll meet him later, but there's a guy you're going to meet who's another bracer, who his S break is basically a Kamehameha. Like, he just takes this big spirit ball and then just throws it, and it's an area of effect attack, and it's fucking awesome. But I laughed every time. Incredible. I was like, God, this is absolutely made in Japan. Everybody, you got to get a Kamehameha in there somehow.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
So,
yeah, I mean, just because of all that, it's hard to tell if you want to do like experience grinding at the start of each chapter, or if you want to, wait till you grab a third character and then really go for it. Because I definitely know that when you pick in chapter 3, when you pick up Tita, she's like, because she's younger than you, she starts off a couple levels below you anyway. So it's almost kind of worth it to just wait till you got her around.
Yeah, because you want to start getting her that experience.
But then again, I mean, I ended up just happily fighting everything on the trail between Ruin and Zeiss, because I did that, ended up getting a bunch of I'm deep in the terminology weeds. Sepith, is that the term for the shards that you can turn into quartz?
Yes, Sepith. Yep.
So I ended up doing that just so I'd get Sepith on the way down there, and then
that's smart, is farming some Sepith, because the level 3 orbments that you can get later on are not fucking cheap.
I figured, like, I have like 900 in one of the types, but it's also the type that you never seem to use. Yeah,
so I think a level 3, like a red or a blue and those types, are about 800 Sepith.
That's a little pricey.
It's steep, man. But you'll start accumulating more the harder enemies you fight and things.
But man, we mentioned a character named Chloe earlier. I wanted to go back to her. She was one of the main characters of chapter 2. And she's kind of, so she's a student at the academy or whatever. But she's also, like, has ties to the orphanage, which is a major plot point of the chapter. And she's the one that brings the bird thing. The bird's name is Zeeg. And he's like, it's called a gerfalcon, which is just like, he's a really cool trained raptor. I don't know if he resembles a real kind of hawk or whatever, probably, but I'm not a bird expert. But like, what I liked about him is he's like intelligent enough that he can understand other characters and respond to them, but he just responds like, scree! But Chloe has known him for long enough that like she can understand him speaking. So like she can get intelligence from the bird that ends up coming into play a couple times. And I don't know, I enjoyed the bird does company. I kind of like intelligent talking animals, or intelligent non-talking but comprehending animals.
Speaking of talking animals, there's another quest, and we can come back if there's more you want to talk about Chloe, but what you just said made me think of this. In chapter 3, you said you did the follow the cat around and find the person who smoked the cigarettes, right?
Yeah, that also was a similar energy.
Did you find the book that had the translations of what the cat was trying to say to you?
I tried to memorize as much of that as I could when I first saw it because I'm like, I know I'm going to need this one. And then the cat came back about 30 minutes later and was actually a quest character. So I'm like, okay, I remember that this one means this way.
Yeah, it was really cool how they did that, where it was like, there was a book with the different meows that he could make, and obviously they were phonetically spelled out different ways. And it was like each one had like, okay, this one means I'm hungry. So you give him the milk. And then this one means follow me. This one means this way. This one means this motherfucker right here.
The book had a bunch of like humorous ones too, like, you know, what is up, weird purple or weird pink fleshed creature, or whatever.
Oh yeah, I love it, dude.
Like the game has a good sense of humor going on throughout it, in addition to like the story. I think it's probably, I don't know, I feel like it does more humorous stuff than it does like dark, serious stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, for sure. It definitely, like, it's a very feel-good story for the most part.
Like, tonally, I would say it would be closer to Dragon Quest XI than anything we've done so far, including that it gets darker throughout.
I don't know why I thought you were going to be like, it's more like Dragon Quest XI, including Dragon Quest XI. I don't know why I was going to be like, what?
More Dragon Quest than a Dragon Quest. Yeah.
Get in the zone, auto zone. I don't know why that came to my brain, but it did.
I got no idea.
So I'm curious what you thought of Zeiss, or Zeiss, I mean.
I've been saying it's Zeiss. I don't know which way it is. It's Zeiss.
German, that would be Zeiss. No.
Would it? I thought it was supposed to be German.
No, I'm sorry, that is Zeiss. Yeah, that is Zeiss.
It would be Zeiss, yeah. Or I think it would be Zeiss, wouldn't it? But I'm not going to go that far.
Oh, I don't remember what Z.
Doesn't a Z take a little like it's like TS, like what looks like Zugzwang is like Zutzwang.
Sensuk. Hold on. Lashzeit. Yeah, it might be like Zeiss. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Zeiss. I'm just gonna say Zeiss because I'm simple. Like one of my favorite things is, okay, so Zeiss is like the high tech capital of the world. It's where the orbit technology first really came to the Kingdom of Liberal, and like because of that, like when you first show up, everything is like gee-whiz technology that impresses the shit out of Estelle. But like it happens in a really goofy order to me. Like the first thing she sees in there is this like very big freight elevator that can pick up like thousands of tons and stuff. And she's like, oh, that's pretty neat. And then she sees like regular personal escalator and is like, what is this? And then later on she sees a conveyor belt and is like, oh my goodness. And it's like each of those things was less impressive than the last. It's like if you saw like a rocket launcher and you're like, oh, that's neat. Then you saw a gun and you're like, whoa. And then you saw a bow and arrow and you're like, holy shit, this changes everything. Like you kind of did it backwards there, buddy. But I don't know, I enjoyed it. Also, I ran down the up escalator and up the down escalator every time I had the option because that's just the kind of person I am.
So, yeah, when I realized that I could run them backwards, I was like, oh yeah, well fuck the normal. I'm going down, up, and up, down. Son of a bitches.
I'm not a part of your system.
If you want to be like us, you have to be a nonconformist.
Just like us.
Oh man, but yeah, I thought that place was really cool. And yes, you're absolutely right that like Estelle was more excited about like an escalator than she was like the fucking airship thing that like moves the airship from underneath and then break up and everything. But I really liked the feel of that town. Like it felt like that would be a cool place. Like if you lived in Liberal, that would be a really cool town to visit. Where it's like, oh shit. Like I'm from Rouen, you know, or I'm from the little village in the beginning. I can't remember the name of.
Was it Roland? No, Roland was the region. What was the village itself?
Yeah, you're right. Roland. Yeah, it was Roland. Okay, yeah. So I'm from Roland. Like, there's log cabins and shit around. And now I'm in this fucking city with what's this? An elevator? What the fuck is that? I don't know. That's a cool thing to me. Like. But yeah, like you said though, Estelle was hilarious throughout that entire. Like a kid in a candy store, almost just like whoa.
Yeah, Estelle is a fun character because, like, she either completely 100% is blown away by stuff or she does not care about it whatsoever. There is, like, no in between with her. Like, there's a sub-quest you get where, like, they want her to test shoes for her favorite running shoe company, which is one of the character quirks that they established early on in the game, that she's a big fan of this one company of running shoes.
Strega.
Like, the universe's... Strega, yeah. Which I guess like the universe's equivalent of like Nike or Reebok. And she gets to beta test it. And she literally starts praying a thankful prayer on the ground because she gets to test out this new shoe.
Dude, because she's like quiet and then she's just like all caps and the text is like 5 times bigger than normal. Just like, yeah! Like she's super fucking hype about these shoes. And then you got to run all around them and go give them back. But it pays off.
I bet. I haven't finished that quest yet, but I wanted to really get the shoes good and flat before I brought them back to him because I figured,
There's 4 points that you need to go to specifically. If you'd like to know what they are, I'll let you know after the show.
He mentioned a couple of the places. I went ahead and went to the fort and to the town of Elmo, but I didn't go to the other 2 you mentioned yet. At least I think you mentioned 4 places. I'll check out. I'll look up an FAQ later. It doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, that, and I'm pretty sure like you don't turn that quest in till chapter 3 is almost wrapped up, so you'll pretty much have been everywhere you need to go.
I mean, it says short, but I imagine that he can't just be like, "Oh no, I don't want these shoes anymore. You took too long. You did too good of a job testing my shoes. It was a prank."
As long as you go and turn that in before you leave the gate to go to chapter 4, you're fine.
Okay. That's okay. That's kind of what I was hoping would be the case. Because right now we're kind of in the middle of something very important. And yet I still went and did a monster extermination because that's the kind of dork I am.
But yeah, I know that's about as far as you've gotten is into chapter 3. So like,
yeah.
Overall, like, what would you say your feelings are on this so far? Like, where would you sort of rank it? Because I know, like, I've finished it. Like, right, I've finished it, and like, you'll hear more of my thoughts about that on Saturday. But
well, I won't hear him on Saturday. I'll hear him after I finish the game after Saturday. You, the listener, will hear them on Saturday if you're interested.
Yes, you, the listener.
And if you're not, then I don't know why you're here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What are you imposter?
But this ending, the ending of this game affected me to the point that like I put it up there with Persona 5 and Dragon Quest 11 for impact.
Damn.
So
okay.
I told Willie this before we started. I do not want to go more than a year without playing the second of this game. Like this might be a yearly thing for us, is playing through trails. So, but we'll figure that out whenever the time comes. But yeah,
a nice October-November tradition.
Yes.
Or maybe it'll come up twice a year. Who knows? We got a lot of them to get through.
That is a fair point. So
we got to finish them all before you're dead and buried, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm already starting to get grays. Oh no. But yeah. So, what your overview so far of everything? Like, let me hear it.
I mean, I would say that this game. I hadn't been playing a lot of RPGs for a while, and this and Dragon Quest and. They made me feel like I remember why I like these games now. This is a lot of fun. There's a lot I like in it. I can't say I love every beat in the story, and sometimes it's because it's supposed to be frustrating, like how many times you fail to capture the Sky Bandits.
Yes, bitch.
But, I mean... It brought me back. My first game after the huge budget RPG was the last one we played, and it reminds me, hey, this genre still is really good, and I have to try a lot harder these days to make time for it than I did when I was in high school. But I again really enjoyed it and fully intend to have it finished within a couple weeks. Just have a huge busy November, but once that's done. Well, then we've got another really long game coming up soon, too, so who knows? But I'm going to try to get it done this year.
That's what's up, man. I don't think Baldur's Gate's super long, if that helps.
Yeah, but I have a feeling it's also the kind of game I could get caught up in and end up doing too much.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. So I'm going to look on how long to beat real quick. Main story.
That's a good point. I didn't
Main
check
story
that.
for Baldur's Gate's 30 and a half hours.
Okay, so that's actually shorter than
So it's not terrible. I mean, completionist is 86 and a half hours.
That's the part I was more worried about. I feel like in this game, in Trails in the Sky, you can call the way to play it completionist, but like so much of the stuff is incidental forks in the road that you just come back to from anyway, that like I don't know. When you give me side quests like this, I just do them, and it feels like it's part of the intended runtime of it.
Yep.
Whereas there's something about Baldur's Gate, I feel like a lot of that's actually going to be like choices and things you do not need to do, but you only do for specific reasons. Yep. So who knows? I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed this game. This was a really good game.
Okay. Yeah, and if I want to give it a rating, I know you might not be able to yet, unless you want to give what you've played so far a rating.
If I can avoid giving it a final rating until I finish it, that'd probably be for the best, because otherwise I'm going to be sitting here overthinking, comparing the number I gave to Dragon Quest. And
That's fair. That's fair. I'm going to give this a 9.5.
Okay. 8.5.
Yeah, 9.5. It is really fucking good. And it's just because like I became attached to the characters, and that's a thing that is very important in a JRPG to me, is character building and stuff, because a lot of JRPGs are based around, you know, party stuff, and sometimes your party members are just lackluster, or some of them don't matter. But this game did a good job at like everyone fucking matters. Even NPCs, like random NPCs around town, change their dialogue after every major story beat. So like you can go around and talk to everyone in town, and then the next time you come into town, everybody might have something different to say to you. And it's just, the world building is just really fucking good.
Yeah, I found myself just checking in on a couple of minor NPCs as little stories to see what was going on. Like, every time I went through Zeiss, I was checking in on, like, every time I went through the factory, I was checking in on the one lovelorn guy in the basement that was, like, pining for his supervisor, and his supervisor just absolutely not having time for him. That was, like, a little story. But then when it came out to have its own little side quest, I was like, oh, nice.
There is since you're in chapter 3, I want to tell you, because this is a missable quest, and I don't think you've already gotten to the point where you can miss it since you're still running around with the shoes. But if you go to, I think it's Sanctheim Gate, there's a guard there, and if you talk to the guard, he'll give you something to bring back to the. Yeah,
no, that's the quest I was just referencing.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, so
I was doing that when I wanted to test the shoes. So one of the places I did was run out to the gate, the Wolf Gate.
Yes, the Wolf Gate, yeah. And he's like, will you please just take this letter to her, and will you buy her a gift? Like, I'll give you some money.
And the cool thing about the gift was I was paying attention in the shops earlier and noticed one of the items was labeled as having a note that says, a good gift for a girl. And so I'm like, oh, I know where to go next.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's what's up. Little things like that. I love that kind of shit, dude.
So I got the little +4 BP for that mission because I did it like extra thoroughly, which I don't know. That made me feel good. I love the ranking system. Like, I was a little pleased to hit the rank of Junior Bracer 3rd class, which is where I currently sit.
Hell yeah. I wonder if you'll be able to beat the game with a higher bracer rank than me, because I did not get the achievement for having the max bracer rank, even though I was at rank 1. So I guess I missed a few points along the way, but that's okay.
There's no chance I didn't hit. I couldn't have got every point because I missed the Lost Cat quest at the very beginning of the game.
Ah, okay.
That's why I keep freaking out about them going down to short term, for instance.
Yeah, it's story beats that affect that. So
yeah, I looked it up immediately after that happened, and nothing bad happens. The cat literally returns to the owner. It was okay. But
I do want to say that in order to see if the voice mods worked for 2nd chapter, I did load up the Trails in the Sky SC. And when I started a new game, it popped up and said, we detect a save file from Trails in the Sky 1st chapter. Would you like to load it? And it's like, save must be after final boss. So I was like, oh yeah, it did give you a chance to save after that for a clear save. So if you want to do like New Game Plus and stuff. Well, I was able to load that into 2nd chapter, and then the game started up, and I played it long enough to hear the voices working for Estelle, and then I quit out. But I'm curious now, and I might load it up tonight and see if the game starts and I'm still at level 40 and I still have all my shit. Bro, I'm going to be so fucking happy. Oh my fuck yes.
That'd be pretty nice, yeah. Unless it turns out that the level you're supposed to start at is like 45 and you're actually weaker than you would
That's
be.
Okay. I would handle that accordingly.
I mean, you'll still get a chance to jump right back up anyway. It's,
But
you level up quick when you get to a new region in this game, and I can't imagine that wouldn't be true for the sequel.
Well, I think you're about ready for some house cleaning, my good sir? Or housekeeping, I mean?
Pretty good. No, I mean, I think I need to sweep a little bit.
We'll get to the chimney eventually.
Chimney-roo.
Chimney-roo. Chim-chim-chiroo. So yeah, if you want to come join our Discord, first and foremost, you should come join the Discord.
Hell yeah.
It's bit.ly/TSMP, as in the Steam Machine Podcast, Discord. It's all capital letters, just TSMP Discord. And boom, that'll give you a invite to the server, and you click that little invite and you're in. And then you can vote on what games you want to hear about. You can join us in chatting about video games or anime or TV or anything, really, man. We're there for conversation. We want to meet the listeners, so like, come join us.
Yeah, please. It's been a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun chats, and I always like to see new people come by, and I also like when people just randomly share wacky stuff that I've never seen before. It brings me joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, we've got the link to our website, which is bit.ly/the Steam Machine Podcast, and all you need to capitalize on that's just the first letter, like it's proper, and that's got links to all kinds of shit, man. You can go check out Nate's Twitch. You can check out Willie's Twitch. You can check out my Twitch. You can check out our merch store, which I also have a link for that. It's tsmpproductions.threadless.com. Get you a cool-ass Steam Machine Podcast shirt like our listener, Kana. That, if you want to be cool like that, yeah, shout out to Kana. And speaking of shout-outs, we have some Patreon shout-outs. And I would like to thank these people who donate $10 a month or more. If you want to donate more, that's perfectly fine too. I'm not going to tell you not to, but they are the cogs in our machine, and I'd like to give them a special thank you. So we have Nate Sir Cogsworth of the 7th of Juniper, and I call him Sir Cogsworth because he was the first cog, so he is Sir Cogsworth. Yes. We have Jeff, the original expendable Jeffy Lube. We have Eraser Adam. Shout out to his podcast, Revival and Extinction. Everybody should go check that out. And shout out to DC Smokedown. We appreciate you guys very much.
Thank you.
And $10 a month gets you your name shouted out on each episode. But $1, just $1. $10, you also get the $1 stuff. Like it trickles down or whatever. But like, if you just want to give just $1, you can get each episode early, and you get to hear our little shenanigans before the episode starts, depending. Like, sometimes we have topics to talk about, sometimes we're just rambling. It just kind of depends, but it's all in good fun, and it helps support the show, and we really appreciate that. And man, is there anything that you'd like to plug, my good sir?
Actually, no, not this week, but I think I'll have something next week.
Okay, well, I have some recommendations. I would like everyone to check out Revival and Extinction, which I just mentioned is our buddy Adam's Adams podcast. He's on episode 3 or 4, and I want like some more people to go give it some eyes and ears, man. Get his numbers up. Like, go check that shit out. It's awesome. As always, I always tell you, like, JRPG Report. I recommend the JRPG Report. That's great for your JRPG news and stuff. But I would like to give a
They'll be here for a supplemental episode coming up soon.
And you will get to hear James, his wonderful Southern tones again this weekend. And I want to give a special recommendation, only because he recently just covered a game that's on our list, to Matt Barton and Matt Chat on YouTube. He just recently covered Jagged Alliance, which is an old like strategy tactical RPG from back in the day, and that's on our list. I watched him play it, and let me tell you, that's going to be an interesting episode whenever that comes up, for sure.
That is not a genre I have any expertise with, so good luck to us when we get to anything with like tactics RPG or real-time strategy elements.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting if we ever get there. But yeah, Matt Chat, he's a really good dude. Matt Barton, he's actually a Patreon of us, and I'm a Patreon of him. So like, it's a mutual thing. He's a really good guy. Everybody should go check out Matt Chat. I don't think his channel gets enough love. Like, I know you've heard me shout out before that he's got the interviews with Romero for like Doom and things like that. I've sent those to you.
They were really good.
He's got interviews with all kinds of developers from back in the day. And then nowadays he does interviews when he can, and then he also does like gameplay stuff, so like of these older RPGs and things. So it's a really cool channel. I want everybody to go check out Matt Chat. And I think that about does it for this week's episode, man. I'll catch you guys again this weekend, and Willie, we will talk again next week, my good sir. We will be covering Full Throttle Remastered, which is not American Shopper American Shopper, not Worldwide Shopper. That was the joke that I made. Yeah, Full Throttle Remastered, not a racing game. It's a LucasArts point and click game, and I want to clarify because apparently when we mentioned that on the last episode, people thought that it was a racing game. It is not. It is a point and click adventure, so it should be really fun. It's critically acclaimed. People love it.
It's I think the first game that was fully written by Tim Schafer, who you may know from Psychonauts, Brutal Legend, and Psychonauts again.
Yeah, so it should be fun, man. I look forward to that. Is there any last words before you walk the plank, Lottie?
If you come into the Steam room when I'm in there, I'll scream really loud.